Have you ever arrived on site to do a commercial EV charger fit out and realised that none of the loads have been calculated and it falls down to you? So how difficult is speccing a commercial EV installation? Well, in this video I'm going to be doing just that and speccing up this commercial EV install with these Sienna chargers from Lewden, which are all going to be supplied from this EV feeder pillar. And did you know this is one in a series of videos I've made on commercial EV charger installations? You can watch them individually or head over to our know-how page to watch them as part of a series for your CPD, and you get a certificate to prove you've completed the course. Now, although this car park is on private land, it will be accessible for use by the public. So when I was doing my research for this job, I headed over to the .gov website, as I know there is specific requirements around EV chargers for public use. So before we consider the loads of the chargers, we actually first need to consider how many chargers we need to fit in this car park. Oh, and just a heads up, the client wants the chargers to be as fast as possible. Let's start with standard AC charging outlets. They must be rated at 230 volts AC plus or minus 10% for single phase and provide an output over 3.5 kilowatts, but not exceeding 7 kilowatts. Fast chargers have to have an output that is greater than 7 kilowatts, but not above 23 kilowatts, and be rated at 230 volts AC plus or minus 10% single phase, or 400 volts AC plus or minus 10% three phase. Semi-rapid AC charging gear should be rated at 400 volts AC for three phase, with outputs over 23 kilowatts, but not more than 43 kilowatts. It should come with either a BSEN 62196 Type 2 socket or a tethered lead with a BSEN 62196 Type 2 connector. It's worth noting here that this is the charging power of the charger itself. The power or speed of the charge is set by the car and the onboard electronics. Most cars now come ready to take 7 kilowatts of power single phase or 11 kilowatts three phase. This is because most cars are able to accept the CCS or combined charging system plugs, which combine both AC and DC charging. The Gov website also outlines the standards of DC chargers when it comes to size and control, and they are: fast DC charging stations should deliver more than 3.5 kilowatts but not exceed 22 kilowatts. Semi-rapid DC charging outlets should provide an output between 22 kilowatts and 50 kilowatts. Rapid DC charging stations should have an output of more than 50 kilowatts but not exceed 62.5 kilowatts. But what about DC chargers that exceed 62.5 kilowatts? Well, this list is taken from the government website and only appears to go up to 62.5 kilowatts. Any charger after that, like these 150 kilowatt chargers, are known as ultra rapid chargers and can get up to 350 kilowatts. This installation will be fast AC using the Sienna 7.4 kilowatt charger from Lewden. We have 4 of these chargers being installed, and they're being supplied from this Lewden EV charger pillar. So what size cable do I need to install for this feeder pillar? So you may remember from one of our CPD videos on design this fruity equation that IB is less than or equal to IN, which is less than or equal to IT, with IB being the design current, IN being the protective device, and IT being the current carrying capacity of the cable. This installation is broken into 2 parts: the supply to the charger pillar and the supply to the chargers. So we can calculate what our design current at the charger pillar is going to be, as we know the loads that will be connected to it. So 7.4 kilowatts times 4 is 29.6 kilowatts. Dividing the wattage by the RMS voltage of 230 volts gives us a supply current at max pull of 129 amps. This is correct if the supply to the feeder pillar is single phase. However, we will be installing a 3-phase supply. This is so we can spread the load over the 3 phases. So our maximum demand on L1 phase is 14.8 kilowatts or 64 amps, half what we started with on single phase. This means we can install a smaller cable to the feeder pillar. So I'm going to fit this 100 amp GRP switch fuse from Lewden to supply the feeder pillar. This also allows some electrical expansion within the pillar, should we need to add additional circuits in the future. One point that's not come up yet is diversity, and if we can apply it. BS 7671 Regulation 722.311.201 says, load curtailment, including load reduction or disconnection, either automatically or manually, may be taken into account when determining maximum demand of the installation or part thereof. What that means is, if we can reduce the load demand on one of these chargers, we can reduce the maximum maximum demand of the installation. So let's have a look at some different examples and how we may have to curtail the load at each charger to ensure we don't exceed the maximum current as agreed by any connection agreement with the DNO. I'm also going to do this example as a single phase supply, but it's important to recognise that most, if not all, new connections are now installed as three-phase supplies. So let's say the DNO have given us a connection agreement current of 80 amps or 18.4 kilowatts. We need to agree with the client how best to distribute that power across the chargers. Perhaps equal share over the 4, which is 4.6 kilowatts. Perhaps one charger at full output and the rest divided equally. So one fast charger at 7.4 kilowatts and the rest at 3.6 kilowatts. What we can't do is have two chargers at 7.4 kilowatts and divide the rest between the last two. This is because we would be left with 1.8 kilowatts at the two chargers. And if we remember from earlier, government legislation states we cannot supply an AC charger with less than 3.5 kilowatts. So in this scenario, it's a balancing act with the client to get the best outcome for the installation. However, the sensible approach to all this max load stuff is a dynamic load balancing system. We, the installer, can program in the maximum demand of the installation, and if multiple cars are plugged in and charging, the system will automatically share the maximum current between the vehicles. If a car leaves the load, it rebalances across the remaining chargers. On our installation, we have a full load approval from the DNO, so we can ensure that 7.4 kilowatts is available at each charger. The cable size which is needed for each of the chargers is determined in the same way, but can we run multiple chargers off one supply? The code of practice for electric vehicle charging does say that a separate, dedicated electrical circuit with its very own overcurrent protective device shall be provided for the EV charging equipment. However, more than one piece of EV charging equipment may be fed from the same supply circuit, provided that the combined current demand of the equipment does not exceed the rating of the supply current. So for our example, we will consider two chargers on one circuit. And before we get into the calculation, it is worth noting that each charger does have a 40 amp RCBO device in the pillar. We have two 7.4 kilowatt Siennas come in with a design current of 64 amp. So I'm going to spec this 80 amp MCB and an 80 amp RCCB just to add that extra layer of protection for the circuit. I'm using EV Ultra from Doncaster Cables, and the datasheet gives a handy overview of Appendix 4 of BS7671, which is the current carrying capacities of the cables. The table given states that for our 80 amp single phase supply, we could use a 10mm cable. However, we've not considered the voltage drop of the run. Now, I'm not going to dive into voltage drop in this video because we've already done that in another video. But what I can tell you is the voltage drop does exceed the 5% that we are allowed. That means I need to use a bigger cable. So I've got to up this to 16mm, and a bigger cable means a bigger cost. We also have the issue of having two loads on two phases. This would create an unbalanced load, as these currents when vehicles are on charge may divert current into the neutral. So instead, I'm going to run 4 circuits, each at 32 amps of this bidirectional Type A RCBO, and use a 6mm cable to supply each charger. Okay, so next we're going to move on to the EV feeder pillar, and we're going to start with the earthing arrangement. Unless we can guarantee that the installation is a TNS, then we must assume the installation is a TNCS. And because there is a risk of an open pen fault, we need to provide protection. Or do we? Well, one solution would be to ensure that the cable supplying the EV feeder pillar is earth this end, and that's to ensure the cable has a referenced earth, but not this end, meaning that the feeder pillar is isolated from the PME. This means that the cable has a protective earth on it, which is there for the cable, just in case it was struck in the future by a manic digger driver. So where do we get the earth from for the feeder pillar? Well, we can do that by using an earth rod and make this part of the installation a TT. Providing a dedicated TT earthing system is okay, but only if there's no chance of touching both the TT earthing system conductive parts and those from the TNCS system of any nearby installation at the same time, or that the earth electrode zone for the TT system doesn't overlap with the buried metalwork connected to the main installation earthing system. If it does, the separation loses its purpose. And before we fire in any rods, it's a good idea to check for underground services using a cable avoidance avoidance tool, like this one here, but it does require specific training which falls outside the scope of this video. So there is a risk when installing a TT installation, and the Code of Practice for electric vehicle charging points does recognise this. It advises that TT installations should be fitted if open pen protection is not available. Fortunately, on this installation we do have open protection in our feeder pillar, so we can connect onto the PME supply and be satisfied that in the event of an open neutral fault, a dangerous rise in potential is not going to occur between conductive parts because our open device will operate. So our tame electricians are going to be arriving on site soon, and I know our clients are super excited to get these 7.4 kilowatt chargers from Lewden up and running. In our next video, I'm going to be telling you about the measures that we can take to keep our installations safe, including lighting, RFID and security measures to stop those pesky thieves. But until then, it's bye-bye for now.